Hello, my name is David Williams and I'm the Senior Officer for Music Education at Arts Council England. Welcome to this recorded session on the SMART Objectives template for Music Education Hubs. In this context, the acronym SMART stands for Specific, Measurable, Achievable, Relevant and Time-bound. This video is available on our website in two formats, one with British Sign Language interpretation and another with subtitles. This template is a key component of the 2022-23 Music Education Hubs funding agreement process, which has been introduced for this year and is a mandatory requirement. You should supply a completed version in April and update this for each of the subsequent quarterly payment conditions, i.e. in July, October and January. In this video, we will go over what the SMART Objectives template is, what it is for, why we are using it, and what we need you to tell us when filling it in. Although the template will be available on screen as part of this recording, we recommend, if possible, that you have your own template open whilst watching this video. The template can be downloaded from our website. Please download a copy and click Enable Editing once prompted so that you have full functionality. To provide some context, the Department for Education would like to see a stronger focus on performance management for 2022-23. The introduction of the SMART Objectives template helps us to satisfy this requirement, as well as provide a useful tool for hubs to report on progress and performance to stakeholders and other partners. Further details on these new expectations can be found in our relationship framework available on our website. We hope that this template can be utilised as part of the ongoing dialogue with your relationship manager about objectives, progress, and hub activity more generally. The SMART Objectives template is really a visual representation of how we already expect you and your hub boards to be working in a very strategic, evidence-based, and objective way, responding to needs analysis. Much of this information has already been included in your business plans previously. We hope that you therefore find this user-friendly and reasonably straightforward. We expect this to be a working document, updated regularly, to demonstrate the fantastic work that you're doing in each of your hubs. Hubs are expected to set ambitious SMART objectives, which strive for improvement, are based on appropriate data and evidence, and are appropriately informed by national and comparative averages for delivery. We will ask for at least a quarterly update, i.e. in July, October and January, demonstrating your progress against each objective, as well as any new objectives, which will inform conversations with your relationship manager, who is here to help you. Hubs are also expected to report on the progress they are making to achieve these objectives via their hub board or equivalent group meetings, providing papers quarterly. In terms of the template itself, the first tab that we will look at is the introduction sheet. This section provides some further information on how to complete each section. It's worth noting that there is some background information here on why the SMART Objectives template has been introduced and how it will be used. There is also some general guidance here on completing the form itself. The template has been locked in order to protect its structure, so you will not be able to add or delete rows. If you wish to alter your view of the template, you can use the zoom function to the bottom right of your screen. There is also some specific guidance and a description on how to complete each column, alongside an example where relevant. We will now move on to look specifically at the Smart Objectives Setting tab. To start with, please enter the name of your hub and your project number at the top. Your project number will be confirmed in your funding agreement and is listed on Grantian. It is likely to be 4 letters, a dash, and then 8 numbers. Looking at column D initially, there is an information check, which will flag if any mandatory sections on each row have yet to be completed. The message completed row will appear when all mandatory sections have been completed on the row. Moving on to activity, we'd like for you to include a brief overview of the activity you are setting a SMART objective against. Please note that whilst the sheet is set up to accept up to 300 activities, we do not expect you to use all of them. We expect, as a minimum, that each of the core and, if relevant, extension roles will have at least one activity contributing to it. There is a counter at the top of the template to help keep track of how many SMART objectives you've created against each of the core and extension roles. You may also choose to provide objectives relating to other key priority areas, such as equality, diversity and inclusion, management and governance, or finance. A single activity could relate to more than one of these areas. There are columns on the template where you can select which of the core and extension roles or other priority areas each objective relates to. Your activities do not need to be listed in priority order. For the activity section, you will have 200 characters, including spaces, to describe each proposed activity. When you have described your activity, you can press Enter on your keyboard to view how many characters you have remaining. This figure will be shown in the following column as shown on screen. So for this example, as an activity, I'm going to put in that I'd like to increase vocal engagement across our hub's music centres, which are located in X, Y, and Z. In column G, there is an opportunity to outline the name of the individual or organisation responsible for this activity. This could be a named contact or simply described as hub lead or a specific named hub partner. For this example, I'm going to use the hub lead as the activity owner. Moving on to completion date, this is the date the activity is intended to be completed by, and this must be entered in the following format as shown on screen. If this is likely to be ongoing activity which continues beyond the current funding agreement, please enter the last date of the funding agreement. So for this objective, I'm going to put the completion date as the 31st of March 2023. By outputs, i.e. deliverables, we mean what your activity will produce, such as a performance or workshop. Again, please note that you will not be able to exceed a maximum of 600 characters for this section, so please do press enter and check the character count regularly to save the entry. So an example that I'm going to give in this case is that our hub would like to establish new choir ensembles in each of our 5 music centres. We'd like to provide some CPD activity for vocal tutors in choral leadership. We'd like to offer some kind of side-by-side project with an experienced vocal practitioner. And we'd also like to offer taster sessions to encourage children and young people's participation in vocal activities. For each activity, please write your proposed targets and success measures here. A proposed target might use figures or percentages to quantify your aim, i.e., who might benefit or how many children and young people might be involved. A proposed success measure might be the change you aim to achieve and how you might measure it. Again, you will not be able to exceed a maximum of 600 characters for this section. So a reminder again, please do press enter and check the character count regularly to save the entry. So in this example, I'm going to use the following. So our targets are to establish 5 new choirs across our music centres and reach an additional 100 children and young people. We'd also like to run 2 CPD sessions for local tutors across the Music Education Hub, with 20 music centre vocal practitioners to attend. We'd also like to run 1 side-by-side project in collaboration with an experienced vocal practitioner for a series of 10 weeks, which engages 10 members of local music centre staff. In terms of success measures, we'll measure success by looking at the increased numbers of students singing in choral ensembles across our hub/local music centres. And we'll also monitor the level of confidence amongst local tutors within the hub network. The monitoring of your objectives allows hubs and the Arts Council to continue to demonstrate the effectiveness and value of the Department for Education's investment as the role of hubs embedded in the wider education and cultural sectors. The 21-22 results for comparison column is not mandatory, but will enable you to benchmark your performance from the previous funding agreement period where results are available. However, if this activity is new, please leave it blank. Again, as with other columns, you will not be able to exceed a maximum of 600 characters for this section, so please do press enter and check the character count regularly to save the entry. The example given in this scenario is that they currently have 250 children and young people participating in the hub's choral ensembles. They currently have only 5 choral ensembles, and all of those are central, i.e. they are not located in each music centre area. Moving on, within column O, you can select a priority of either high, medium or low, depending on how important this SMART objective is to your organisation. So for this example, I'm going to indicate that this is a high priority for us as a hub. It will then show up and flag in red. For columns P through to Y, these are your opportunity to mark which of the core or extension roles or other areas of priority each SMART objective aligns to, plus any other considerations as outlined in our additional conditions for 2022-23. Use the drop-downs here to select as many of the items as apply to the activity. If your activity does not directly link to any of these items, you can leave them blank or provide some additional notes in the final column, column Z, here. So for this example, as it relates to the hub's singing strategy, I'm going to indicate that it aligns closely with core role 4. As mentioned slightly earlier on, there is a counter at the top of the template to make it easier to monitor which of the core and extension roles or other priority areas you have set your SMART objectives against. Finally, looking at the Quarterly Updates tab, there is space here to provide an update against each objective. This will provide an opportunity to monitor progress during the funding period against your SMART objectives for the agreed activity. The first couple of columns will automatically copy across from the SMART Objective Setting tab. So you can see here that it's pulled across our activity and our proposed targets and success measures that we gave in the previous example. Throughout the rest of this tab are opportunities for you to outline your quarterly progress coinciding with our quarterly payment conditions. You should identify any area of activities where insufficient progress is being made and appropriate plans and actions that have been improved by your board to help mitigate risks and/or increase progress and performance. You should do the same for each of the July, October, and January updates. Once you have completed a template, you will need to upload it as an attachment as part of your quarterly payment submission requests on our online system, Grantium. For further information, please see the Grantium guidance, How to Claim a Payment, on our website. Just to reiterate, our relationship managers will be on hand to offer feedback to support you with setting your SMART objectives. Don't forget to make use of the other resources available on our website, including our relationship framework, a recording of our recent 2022-23 funding requirements webinar, some FAQs, alongside key guidance documents and templates. Please visit our website to learn more via www.arts-council.org.uk/music-education/hubs. Thank you for watching and listening.